from RNC Research. Awkward, it says. Let us play the video for you. There's Joe Biden shaking hands with Macron, and then he crouches down a little bit.
Please welcome the Honorable Lloyd J. Austin.
Okay, let's mute this audio. They're all standing there, waiting for Lloyd Austin to come out. There's no sitting, and Biden does this weird crouch. Okay, so the weird thing about this is that he crouches down, he gets up a little bit, he crouches down. He's not focusing on everything. He's not focusing on anything, right? And the question is, what is he doing? I woke up in the morning, I saw this video, and the first thing I thought was, is he pooping? Like, is he just like standing there being like, oh boy, you're like, it's happening. And so I looked into it, and I mean this not to be rude. I mean, you got veterans there who are 100 years old, but around 30% of people over 80 wear diapers for, the inability to keep things in at that age. I don't think that is unreasonable to suggest that Joe Biden at his age is dealing with these issues. Daily Caller said, Biden in France at D-Day ceremony. This is the tweet that I saw. And I'm like, what is he doing? Some people suggested he's looking at something on the ground. And I'm like, that doesn't explain the weird crouching that he's doing. Others have said he's trying to sit down, but there's no chair. No, there's literally a chair. You can see it right behind him. There is a chair sitting right there. So what is he doing? The fairest argument can be made is everyone's supposed to be standing as Lloyd Austin is coming in, and he decides to have a seat, but then decides not to, and then decides to have a seat, but then decides not to. That's why he's bobbing up and down a little bit. Well, of course, if you Google search it right now, you can see that there are tons of stories. Joe Biden tries an invisible chair. Did Biden poop himself? Right-wingers claim he pooped himself. Biden's D-Day speech. Well, that one's at least normal. Olivia Dunn goes bikini horseback riding in Mexico. I have no idea what that has to do with Joe Biden pooping himself, but whatever. The Daily Dot says Biden poop. France video subject of debate. And then, of course, the Daily Beast rushing to the defense of Joe Biden. Right-wingers claim Biden pooped himself at a D-Day ceremony because everything's so dumb. Guys, he's 81 years old. It is not unreasonable. Let me say this to you. If you went to any writer at the Daily Beast, Justin Baragona, the guy who wrote this, and you were having just coffee, and you were like, the other day I was having a family event. My 81-year-old grandpa he crouches down, and then he lifts up, and he crouches down again, and gets up, and then he's not really focused on anything. His face kind of grimacing. He'd go, "Oh man, did he have an accident?" That's what any reasonable person would say. But because Joe Biden is the Democrat president, the media wants to rush to his defense and argue that he did not, in fact, have an accident on stage.
It looked like he at least got caught up in a brain fart. Like he couldn't decide whether or not to sit down, and then got like confused in the moment. It was just like, oh, what am I doing? Kind of like, should I sit? Nobody else is sitting. Oh, where am I? Oh, maybe I'll actually stand up. And then doing it very slowly because he's old.
But that is a weird, circuitous explanation for his behavior.
Totally. Yeah, he's a weird.
It's just the most charitable one, given his past track record for his cognitive decline.
When you hear hooves, you think horses, not zebras. Or zebras, as our Australian friends would call it. When Joe Biden, an 81-year-old man who has been accused of pooping himself in the past, is standing up when everyone else is standing up, it's not a seating moment. They're all standing and waiting for Lloyd Austin. And then he does this crouch thing. You think 81-year-old man, he's going at it, He's
It's almost like he has a depth perception issue as well, which that can be a cognitive thing as well. Like he maybe thought the chair really was right there, but he's leaning down. It's like, oh, it's not here.
But the problem I have with that is, why would he sit down when no one is sitting down? That doesn't make sense.
I think he can't stand that long, maybe.
But so the issue would then be, Joe Biden as a world leader can't stand up.
Right. No.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Is that your argument, Daily Beast? He can't stand up and he's struggling. Wow. I don't know what's worse. Old man has to wear diapers. That's seemingly normal. Or Joe Biden can no longer stand. Put him in a wheelchair then.
It's a little bit striking how similar Jill Biden and Macron's wife look. Like, I feel like there's a clear archetype in...
Candace Owens said that woman was actually a man.
I wasn't going to say
You weren't going to say it.
I knew someone would, but I just know what she said.
I think she staked her entire reputation on it, if I'm not mistaken.
She certainly did, yeah.
And do we have any update? Do you want to zoom in?
I can't look at that woman the same anymore, because now when I look at her, I'm like, yeah.
She looks exactly like Jill. Maybe Jill's also...
My conspiracy theory is that Candace was trying to get out of her contract. So, you say something like that, and Daily Wire's like, we're going going to get sued. But no, her contract was ending anyway. So
when you mentioned Lloyd Austin too, Tim, it's interesting because Lloyd Austin, he was caught in that little controversy because he had the surgery, I believe like a cancer that was treatable, but nobody knew where he was.
Yeah.
And there were no ramifications for that still. Now, I think there was a little uproar of people wanting him to get fired, but a very irresponsible thing to do because if something were to happen, nobody knew where Secretary Lloyd Austin was, not even Joe Biden, I believe, at the time.
Don't worry, the White House interns would handle it like everything else.
It's troubling. The chain of command there becomes an issue and all that stuff, but that was all swept under the rug.
Did he in fact come out? Because I haven't seen that footage yet.
Who?
Lloyd Austin.
Yeah,
was he gone again? Okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
It's an amazing event. I mean, the veterans. It's truly incredible to see. These guys, many of them who are over 100 years old, who are attending. There was one amazing video of one of the veterans walking to the beach, and then touching the water. That stuff's inspirational, man. It is sad to me that a couple things. One is our nation is led by, unfortunately, not the best of us. Because the men who are willing to do what needs to be done often don't come home. And so that leaves the people, typically the politicians we have, people like Joe Biden, are not the people that we want to be leading us. So it's also sad to me. I am envious of the caliber of man from back then that we lack today.
You're going to give me a soapbox, but we have a massive testosterone issue in this country. And I don't say that sarcastically or belittling it just to be funny. Like, we really do. I think it's like the average, 30-year-old has the equivalent of a 60 or 70-year-old male of like 40 years ago. Like, we've dropped over 50% in the last 50 years. That's absolutely insane.
Do you remember the Try Guys BuzzFeed scandal? Testosterone gate. It's these 4 guys who were making a video for BuzzFeed, and they're like, we're going to get our testosterone levels checked. And they're like, what are they, like in their 20s? And the testosterone was that of 80-year-old men.
I believe it. I mean, you see that everywhere you go. They're wearing masks. Well, they put signs up letting you know.
They don't eat meat. They don't exercise. And it's not even about, I'm not talking about lifting, although you should.
Be nice.
I'm talking about these people don't even walk, right? So there's a really interesting a post that went viral where it was like, caloric intake has stayed the same, but weight has increased dramatically, obesity. What could this mean? And of course, the default response most people gave was like, they're putting poison in our food. It's making us fat. And I'm like, dude, it's the internet. When the internet came out, people stopped walking places. You used to have to walk out of your house, walk to the bus station, walk to your office, walk. Want to go to lunch? You got to walk. Now it's all order. Now it's all remote work. There's
a ton of kids in my neighborhood, and this is happening even with kids in a lot of places. There's a ton of kids in my neighborhood. I never see these kids. They're never outside. When I first moved in, we have a neighborhood pool, and once I realized there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood, I was like, man, this thing's always going to be crowded. We go there on July the 4th, and there's no one there.
I can't believe you just said that. This is something my wife and I talk about every day because we're surrounded by neighbors, and they all have like 3 and 4 kids. And I'm just like, I see them maybe once or twice, maybe outside once a week. But throughout the day, at evening, when some of the kids are out, when our kids are definitely out, they're gone. And every day we're just like, where are all the kids that we see on occasion in cars driving by? And they're just like cooped up inside, I guess. And it's crazy to me. You got to get kids outside.
I agree. Wow. You got to catch some fireflies.
Jeez.
I think this was where Biden pooped himself was the 80-year anniversary of us storming the beaches of Normandy. And I think it's worth mentioning that our greatest generation is kind of coming to an end. And all the veterans from that war probably won't be with us in the next decade or so. And their legacy of the peace in Europe that we've been seeing might be coming to a close.
Right around the time that Joe Biden is setting Europe on fire.
It's just, Americans had to come save Europeans from a shit show that was World War II. And we've had a more or less peace last there for the last 80 years. And I think we're seeing that come to a crumble. And as we're seeing NATO kind of crumble and Russia become more bellicose in Eastern Europe. And I think the best way to honor our heroes that fought in Normandy would be trying to have and continue a lasting peace in Europe. And if it doesn't, then we're going to have to eventually go save them again otherwise. So
We're at the door. We're at the doorstep of full-scale Eastern European warfare.
Well, it's interesting too, because I think we're going to be getting into it soon, but we are escalating now with allowing Ukraine to strike inside Russia, bordering areas in Russia where they are staging to attack Ukraine with American weapons. That hasn't happened before with our weapons. So,
yeah, Biden gave the command to his vassal state to begin firing on Russia directly.
Which is very bizarre when you think about it. The fact that we might as well loop them in as a territory like Puerto Rico or something at this point.
I think that the reverse is kind of bizarre. I think it's bizarre to kind of give them weapons and be like, no. As soon as the Russians go across, they'll come attack you. They'll launch from inside of Russia. But no. Once they cross this arbitrary line on a map, I know they just attacked you and will attack you soon. You can't attack them.
I don't think we should be giving them weapons.
Right.
To begin with. So,
we are at war with Russia. That's it. In any context, if Russia goes to war in Ukraine, for whatever reason Russia goes to war in Ukraine, and then we say to the Ukrainians, we will train you, arm you, provide the intelligence, using, it is the stupidest thing in the world that there are people trying to claim that we loaded up a rocket onto a rocket launcher and then drove it to Ukraine, got out and said, okay, can you press fire at that Russian guy right now? And the Ukrainian guy was like, beep. And then we didn't do anything, Russia. Don't look at us.
But in a time of war, I think it's like, when Russia clearly invaded Ukraine and these are two countries at war, it's like, obviously you should be able to attack the country.
Why did Japan bomb Pearl Harbor?
They'd say because we blockaded them. But why did we blockade Japan? Does anybody know? Because they were holocausting the Chinese. They were invading the Philippines because they were being imperial. So that's why.
Why did Germany declare war on the United States?
Because we declared war on Japan.
So you have the United States seemingly uninvolved, but clearly involved in supporting the Allies through blockades and weapons.
I mean,
so we're at war. It's the idea that we can give Ukraine all of its weapons, that we can train them to use it, tell them where to shoot them, have private contractors, American citizens operating as volunteers, and special forces and NATO personnel on the ground in Ukraine, and then be like, we're not at war.
We're in a proxy war. I'm not going to...
It's not a proxy war.
It's just a word.
It's not American soldiers. So
American soldiers... so
some volunteer warrior...
That's nonsense, dude. You think people are retarded?
I think we do have probably some special forces on the ground over there.
That's a fact. We do have special forces.
Special forces there.
NATO personnel are giving orders.
Sure. But I mean, again, does that mean when we were fighting proxy wars back against in the Cold War, were we actually fighting Russia when the Soviet Union was kind of helping North Korea in the Korean War under the table and supplying them with weapons? Were we really? It's a proxy war. I don't think we're at full scale war with them.
We are at the point where NATO personnel are operating in Ukraine, and the only distinction is, hey, Ukrainian guy, press fire, and they go, okay, and do you think Russia actually cares or about anything you're saying? What you're saying matters only to the deep state and default liberals who don't pay attention. Russia is not looking at this going, damn, the NATO personnel who gave the missiles, the intelligence, and the training didn't press the button themselves. Guess we can't retaliate. That's not what's happening.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.